Hello, this is The Whole Truth, brought to you by the Greenville County Democratic Party. From local city councils and school boards to the South Carolina legislature and the nation, we provide a clear-eyed view of the whole truth surrounding the decisions, the policies, and the politics that have a direct impact on your family, your neighbors, and you. The Greenville County and the South Carolina Democratic Party have made incredible strides in recruiting extraordinary candidates for elected offices across South Carolina. In many instances, we even have primary election contests between multiple Democratic candidates from which you can choose. Because of this, we decided to interview as many of these candidates as we are able in order to have you be well informed as you vote in the June 9th primary elections.
Welcome to another episode of the Whole Truth Podcast by the Greenville County Democratic Party. I'm your host, Third Vice Chair Charles Morris, and today we are joined by a very special guest, District 25 Representative Mr. Wendell Jones.
Hey, Charles. Good to be with you, buddy.
Us. We appreciate you being here. Not only are you an elected official, you're a pastor.
I am.
You're a business owner.
I am.
And I've heard you speak many times, publicly and privately, about being a bridge builder. And how does that work in this era of extreme partisanship? And you're on the front lines out of Columbia.
Oh, absolutely. The extreme partisanship does not erase the fact that we still need bridges. It just makes it a little bit more difficult to build. Makes a little bit long. It takes a little bit more time to build, but the necessity for it is still there. And I think the partisanship is actually making the necessity scream at us. And so it's challenging, Charles.
That's true.
But it's an opportunity for us to show leadership. And that's how we have to view it. And the longer we go with this back and forth that we've been going, the more the people find themselves in bad situations, and they're starting to feel the pain of it. And so we have a chance to capitalize on that and really put forth true leadership that this state has been lacking for quite some time.
How has this session been?
It's an election year. So
just piggybacking on the previous question.
In an election year, what I've learned in my short time down there, election years, people are trying to carve out their space on social media, trying to go viral.
The red meat.
Oh, absolutely. Try to get their base charged up and ready to go. We have been able to put through, I think, some serious legislation, but there's some tremendous bills out there that I really wish we would have gotten to. From both sides. But yeah, it's very clear that it's an election year.
I won't mention some of the clips I've seen that I've texted you about. Today I was able to attend a great event at Mill Village Ministries in West Greenville.
Okay.
Your desk mate, the great Representative Chandra Dillard.
Chandra Dillard.
She was on the panel. Was talking about attainable housing. Right?
Yes.
And you have introduced multiple bills in the past aimed at increasing affordable housing, including one I did not know about until today that I really liked, which was allowing tax-exempt religious organizations to build certain types of affordable housing.
Yes.
So what are the current conversations in Columbia like around affordable housing, and how are you two partnering together on this issue?
Well, we laugh sometimes and say we share a brain. Because if you saw a picture that was posted this week, we were dressed alike and didn't even try to do so. But Chandra and I both realized that the greatest pain point for the citizens of the state right now is affordability, and at the top of that list is affordable housing.
That's most people's biggest bill, right?
Absolutely, absolutely. And it has the potential to really, I believe, to really wreck our economy. We don't have a housing problem. We have a housing crisis. And now that we've hit the crisis mode, I think it does require for government to step in and do some things. I know we want to, and especially my colleagues on the other side of the aisle, constantly want to say, well, the markets can do this. Let the markets do what the government shouldn't do. crisis says government needs to have some intervention.
Yes, correct.
And so that's where we are. And we've got to exercise some courage. And even though there's a tremendous amount of pushback, particularly on the far right side of the Republican Party, in terms of doing anything that's considered to be social services, and that makes affordable housing have a bullseye on its back all the time. And that's exactly what they say. But to me, it's economic development.
Yes.
Because again, if our folks are consuming the majority of their income on housing, how are we going to support our local economies?
Right.
That mom and pop shop, that restaurant, people aren't able to go. And that's going to become a growing problem for us. And so locally, we're going to start to struggle because all of our income is going to make sure we put a roof over our heads. And not to mention that same roof now, we have some energy pricing issues too.
Utility bills.
Exactly. And so if we're going to exercise our fiduciary responsibility and how we manage the dollars of our state, this needs to go to the top of the list. And we need to come up with some creative ways. And it's challenging, Charles. It really is challenging because cost is cost. Mm-hmm. And we got things that are coming down from D.C., from tariffs and things of that sort that have really driven the pricing of lumber and sheetrock, all that stuff through the roof. And so that screams crisis. That screams that the market is struggling. And so we may need to step in and alleviate some of that pressure until the market can correct itself.
Right. In a lot of ways, the market has created that crisis.
It has.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
I'm glad you mentioned utility bills. You know, this winter, it was a cold winter.
Mm-hmm.
We had some snaps. We had a pretty crazy storm. I had 3 straight power bills that were over $400.
Yeah.
Now, I'm blessed. I could weather that. But I'm sitting here going, even in my own neighborhood of West Greenville, I know there's plenty of people who can't live like this.
Right.
It's unbelievable. Has there been a conversation with legislators about how to address this? Because that's an energy crisis.
Absolutely. We've been going back and forth on energy legislation. But, Charles, unfortunately, like so many other things in our state, we've kicked that can down the road so long that now, again, we are in crisis mode. And one of those cans that we kicked down the road is that we haven't been as proactive as we needed to be in terms of helping our citizens, especially our senior citizens, in terms of weatherizing their homes and things of that sort, finding dollars to do that, partnering with local government to do that, and that could help quite a bit. And it's going to be a growing issue. As you know, everybody's up in arms about the idea of data centers coming to the area.
Oh, yeah.
And wanting to make sure that if we do that, if those things are allowed, that we're going to have some ratepayer protection in that. I put a bill out there this year to kind of address some of those things. But it is an issue. Now, our utility companies, I sat in a meeting with Duke Power, and trust me, I'm not throwing stones at our utilities, but they keep assuring us that the grid is fine. But
aren't the stakeholders fine though?
Right, because and I try not to be a vibes kind of guy, a gut feel kind of guy. I like data. I'm somewhat of a nerd, but my gut says, I don't know if that's true, and I'm a little concerned. So it's going to take more convincing, and down the road there's going to be some investing that's needed because outside of these incredibly cold winters and these incredibly warm summers, we're the fastest growing state in the nation.
Fastest growing county within that fastest growing state.
Absolutely.
Which is
and
crazy.
So we're sucking on the grid, man.
Yeah.
We're pulling everything we can. And again, we've got to exercise leadership and try to do what's necessary to get out ahead of that and try to avoid this nasty habit that politics has, which is shifting the burden of cost onto those who need assistance the most. Mm. That is my concern.
Top-down economics doesn't work?
Oh, good old trickle down, huh? It may have worked sometime in the past, but we figured out how to make sure it flows upward. It defies gravity now.
Yeah, it's amazing, isn't it? Let's shift gears a bit. Give us a win, a legislative win from this session. I heard Representative Dillard talking about an eviction bill.
Yes.
Today.
Let's talk about that. I'm so proud of Carla Schusler out of Myrtle Beach. It's some legislation that we've been talking about for quite some time. It's something that the Dems have wanted for quite some time.
A long time.
But you know, if we have a good idea, it's infringing, hinging on being socialist. And so sometimes we have to let our Republican colleagues lead the way.
You got to make it like it's their idea, right?
For the better good. For the better good. And I like Carla a lot. And Carla's been fighting for this. And I appreciate the dynamics that took place this week. I guess you can say the more moderate Republicans pushing back against the Freedom Caucus, who were in lockstep in opposition of this. And again, you know, you start to hear the same old mantra of picking winners and losers, but that seems to be such a convenient statement that you know, we only pull it out when it serves our purpose, but we conveniently throw it away when we're making sure that our donors and our base wins. And so, but I was really proud of the effort of again, the more moderate Republicans. I guess we acted like the uniparty as they get accused of from their Freedom Caucus colleagues whenever they agree with us.
For somebody who may not know the dynamics of the state house.
Listen, folks, you know, there's a two-party system, Repubs and Dems, and whenever logic prevails and Dems and Republicans get on the same page, those who live on the fringe will not call us Republicans and Democrats. We're now the uni-party. We have united. I guess that's supposed to be a step beyond a Republican being a rhino. A Republican in name only. We become one party. And listen, guys, that to me, that is so ridiculous because, you know, what I've learned, even though we have different methodologies and of course backed by different ideologies, there are many times when we really trying to get to the same ending. And I wish there was more of that. And I don't mind, Charles, clashing of ideologies while trying to get to that, because to me, that's the vetting process that's necessary to make sure that the legislation has been properly vetted and it comes out in the best shape possible. Right now, when you have a supermajority, the vetting process is fairly weak. You know, because, you know, once they have that group think over there and they've decided how it's going to be, they don't have to. They don't have to. They'll cloture us and stop the debate. All the chairpersons of every committee is Republican, and so marching orders are delivered, and so their agenda is out front. But in reality, the way that this democracy works best is when there is a balance of power. And right now we have the mentality that winner takes all. Many down there would feel like Democrats should not hold any seat of power, should be silenced at every moment. But that's not in the best interest of South Carolinians. Even if you're listening, guys, and you consider yourself a Republican, you know how we're flawed. We're flawed people. We miss things, and if we're going to make decisions that are going to make it to your doorstep, don't you want those decisions truly vetted, and that the best ideas survive the process? Now, if you cripple the process, you get what you get. And we've seen the results of that throughout the last several decades of different issues that have come up with bills that just don't cut the mustard, oversight that's been lacking with agencies and huge mistakes, $1.8 billion here, $153 million here. All these things are happening because the process isn't allowed to move in its best form.
You know, I appreciate you saying that because a lot of times people try to paint Democrats in a certain light. We don't have a problem with debate. We don't have a problem with the vetting. if it's done in good faith. There's too often that this debate is not done in good faith.
You're right.
I'm preaching to the choir, obviously. You live this every day. But if it's being done for the betterment of the people you represent, that's one thing. If it's being done because you're taking marching orders from Washington, that's completely different.
Right.
Is that the reality in Columbia?
We see quite a bit of things that has Washington's fingerprints on it. The greatest example of that was last year's debate on DEI. And we had a good spirited debate, and honestly, I'm kind of hesitant to say this because say that the Dems start feeling like we were winning a little bit in terms of convincing our Republican brothers and sisters that they were being a little too extreme. And we adjourned that Thursday, and from our understanding, they got a phone call from D.C. over the weekend. And then we came back on Tuesday, and the bill had been changed. And Charles, it had been changed because even inside the language of the bill, it acknowledged Donald Trump.
Oh, my goodness.
He said, good grief, guys. Good grief, guys. The demographics of our state, in their own little unique ways, deserves our undivided attention, and us trying to mirror any other state. Man, we're being derelict in our duties. We're not the same as D.C., clearly. We're not the same as Georgia or North Carolina or Florida. We can learn from any state, but we got to consider what's going to move the needle for South Carolinians. And when we take marching orders, it completely dismisses that.
I agree. That's why we elect state representatives. That's why we elect federal representatives. And one should not be dictating to the other.
Exactly. And they are supposed to represent the needs of their constituents back home.
Not
first.
The madman in the White House.
Yeah.
You're finishing your second term.
Yep.
You've talked a lot about Team South Carolina, right? We've touched on that a lot already. Mm-hmm. How has that evolved in your mind? And how does Columbia look today versus in 2022? Or I should say maybe 2023 first session.
Well, first thing is with Team South Carolina, I'm still a champion of that notion, that ideal, because Charles, we are far more alike than we're different. Oftentimes, the rhetoric out there creates the fractures and the factions and the camps. But when you inspect the different camps, most of your kids go to K through 12 public school. 60+% of our people are on free and reduced lunch. Over 60% of our babies, black, white, brown, are born on Medicaid. Mm-hmm. It's not a Democrat or Republican issue. It's a South Carolina issue. The entire state could have benefited from the expansion of Medicaid. And that's not
benefited.
Just a Democrat. That's across the board. The chasm that's developing in our state from the folks who have been here compared to the folks that are coming here. And please don't think this is me talking about build a wall around South Carolina and new people can't come. But the reality of it is that we haven't really done the best of jobs of keeping pace with wages for our folks that are here. And we've got the resources, we got the infrastructure, we got the trade schools, we got the 2-year colleges, we got the 4-year colleges. We have the resources to develop our folks, but there needs to be a concerted effort to do that, or else we're going to continue to create this divide between those who are coming here, who are moving here with the influx of jobs, and folks that are moving here who came from more expensive states, and they can come in, they can afford the $600,000, $700,000 homes right off the bat. They think it's wonderful, especially if you relocated from New York or out west. But the people who grew up here, they're having a hard time. And so if we're not thinking of Team South Carolina and building those bridges,
yep.
We're going to leave a mess for our kids, Charles. We're going to leave an absolute mess for our kids. And this economy that we tout and we're so proud of, and we're proud of it because right now we have an influx of investment coming in. But I bet if we cut through all the mustard and look at all the different little things, it's growth, but it's growth that's fragile. Because
It's
everybody's
also a little more
not
concentrated, that growth.
Bingo. It's very top heavy. And so that makes it fragile and unsustainable.
Right. The top is the wealth at the top is growing. The amount of people at the bottom is growing. That is unsustainable.
It is
Not building
unsustainable
a sustainable future.
from an income standpoint, Charles. But also another dynamic that we can place in that is that South Carolina is one of the top destinations to come and retire. So we have more people that our infrastructure have to take care of who are no longer in the workforce. And so that's added tension, added pressure for the worker bees of our state. And so we have to make sure that they can have a livable wage and above just to sustain the system. Does that make sense?
It makes complete sense. And it's a great point, because as long as we have a cost of living that in a lot of places is below the national standard, and we're not taxing Social Security at the state level, we're going to be a destination for retirees.
Bingo.
Yeah, and that's something that doesn't come up a lot. It's not as sexy of a topic.
No, people can get offended by it, and that's not what I'm trying to do. I'm just trying to deal in our realities, and leadership has to deal in reality.
Yes, otherwise, why are you there?
Bingo.
Yeah. I love that you mentioned, it's not a black issue, white issue, Democrat issue, Republican issue. I say this a lot, and I sound like I'm preaching, but I'll say it again anyway. When Dr. King was at the end of his life, he in a lot of ways moved past the civil rights movement to the People's Campaign.
Absolutely.
And the People's Campaign was to unite the poor class and the working class to build a more sustainable economic future and to fight for economic justice. And we just can't lose sight of that.
I agree.
And I really appreciate you bringing that up. We're heading into a primary.
Yep.
What's the unfinished business for District 25? What do you still want to get done in another term and beyond?
Yeah, beyond. Mine, I have several things I'm trying to do, Charles, but the thing that sticks out to me the most is I want to raise the average household income. And I want to do that through, of course, through education that leads to higher paying jobs, that also motivates me to work in tandem with our EDOs to recruit those types of companies to our district, that also encourages me to work with Greenville, our county council, to make sure that we are investing in site-ready sites so that we can have places to be able to recruit those companies. It encourages me to work with commerce to make sure that they have a hand in this and that they have investments in this so that we can continue to recruit the types companies of the likes of Isuzu who is going to be a great partner for us. But also, as you know, I'm a huge champion for entrepreneurship as well. And because I believe in stabilizing communities through small business activity and the creation of circulation of wealth within that community. But you got to have small businesses that can serve the needs of those communities so the dollars don't keep leaking out. And so those are the things that I'm championing. And you can't do that. I can't do that on a 2-year time frame. And so the 2-year time frame that the House gives me time to work on the legislative parts of it. But I have to be equally as committed in working on the grassroots part of it. Where District 25 is, it requires leadership that does both. And so I've got to push for a political, legislative political agenda that matches what we're trying to do from a grassroots level in terms of really supporting our small businesses. Our state has to do a better job of supporting small businesses. But we also have to have manage our budget in a way that it provides incentives for companies to assist our citizens in moving into higher paying jobs, provide incentives where education is still affordable so that kids can go to school, but also adult re-education. Many of our folks are in jobs that they're fading out, or they will never. They're not producing the type of revenue where it can be shared to the point where the workers can be brought up to a level that now affords Greenville County. So as homes on average $318,000. And so we got to have those tough conversations. We got to work to bring all of these different resources together, build a system that just circles the wagon. And so I know that's lofty. I'm getting a headache just talking to you about it, but I can,
a lot of work.
I can see it. And so I'm not anchoring myself down to 2-year terms. I'll do it, but I'll be honest with you, Charles. I can't unsee what I see. So whether I'm back in Columbia or not, we still got to make this happen, buddy. My kids, looking to their daddy to talk the talk. My church members are doing that. And so whether I'm in the House of Representatives or not, like we said at the beginning of our conversation, the need's still there.
Right.
The need is still there.
The people are still there.
The people are there. And one of the things that if you visit our church, we have plasters on the wall right there beside the stage that says, treat the needs of others as holy. And that goes with me not just here at our church, but that goes with me down 26 to D.C. That goes with me when my company is teaching companies throughout the state, working with the various chambers throughout the state, is that the needs of the people are holy, which means they need to be addressed. And they matter to God, and so they need to matter to me. And I need to do my best to do my part in my lifetime to provide solutions and then hand the baton off to the next generation.
Building a sustainable, self-sufficient future.
Absolutely.
Representative Jones, thank you so much for joining us today.
Oh, man, it's always a pleasure to hang out with you, Charles.
Thank you.
The Greenville County Democratic Party appreciates your time listening and watching the Whole Truth podcast. You can find us on Spotify, Apple, and YouTube. While you're there, please follow us, like or subscribe to this channel to help us spread the word. The GCDP wants to thank Michael Fishman from Day Moon Productions for furnishing the recording studio as well as providing his time recording and editing. The Democratic Party needs you to get actively involved and join us at future events. You can find out about them at multiple locations like the GCDP website, greenvilledemocrats.com, and browse the events calendar. You can also keep up with us through our social media presence on Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, X, and Threads. Look for @GVLDem. Thanks again for listening. Let's get out there and do what we can to rebuild our government into one that serves us all. Thanks.